In this lecture, we're going to update the label in the quest item container. If I were to open the treasure chest, the UI would appear, but the text doesn't say the item's name. The UI should accurately reflect the name of the item. To get this information, we must store the item in the treasure chest, pass it on with the event, and update UI while handling the event. To get started, we must update the event. Open the Event Manager class. As I stated before, the event should pass on the data from the treasure chest to the UI. All quest items will be stored in a treasure chest. Since the information for the item is in a different object, we must send this information for the treasure chest to the UI. Luckily, we've created an event called Treasure Chest Unlocked. This event will handle communication between the treasure chest and UI. We can update it to send additional data. At the top of the file, add the rpg.quest namespace. Next, update the onTreasureChestUnlocked variable by adding a generic. The data that will be sent must have the quest item SO as the type. After adding this generic, the rest of our code base will break. This is because our event handlers must send and accept this data with the event. Let's begin fixing the errors. Firstly, in the same class, the respective raise method throws an error. Let's add a parameter called item with the quest item SO class as the type. Next, pass this information on to the invoke method. This should fix the errors from the event. Next, let's update the treasure chest component. This component is trying to raise the event. However, it can't without sending the quest item. At the same time, we don't have a quest item from this component. Let's create a variable for storing the quest item. At the top of the file, define a variable called quest item. The type will be the quest item SO class. This variable is private. However, I want my team members to be able to change the quest item on a whim. They should be able to do so through the Unity editor. Let's add the serialize field attribute to the variable. Next, let's scroll to the handleInteract method to update the event. In the raise method, let's pass on the quest item variable. This should fix the errors from the treasure chest. The last few errors appear from the UI controller component. Open this file next. Scrolling to the handleTreasureChestUnlocked method, our registered method is incompatible with the event. We must accept the quest item as a parameter. Let's add a parameter called item with the quest item SO class as the type. An error will be thrown because the class is unavailable without the proper namespace. At the top of the file, add the rpg.quest namespace. Great! We've successfully transferred the quest item's information from the treasure chest to the UI. While we're here, I actually noticed an error with our code. Back in the method, our conditional statement doesn't check the performed action. By not checking the performed action, this method will be called multiple times. Let's add the OR operator to the following condition, not context.performed. The last step is to update the label. Let's create a method for performing this action. Open the quest item state. We're not going to write this code from the enterState method. Otherwise, we'd have to update the enterState method to accept data. As we learned, we're not allowed to add parameters unless the abstract class is updated. However, that means more problems. So, I think it would be a good idea to outsource the logic in a separate method. At the bottom of the class, define a public method called setQuestItemLabel. In the parameter list, let's accept the name as a string parameter called name. Inside the method, set the questItemText.text property to the name parameter. The questItemText element references the label element from the document. The last step is to call this method from the UI controller component. Back in the handle treasure chest unlocked method, we're going to invoke the method after entering the state. Type the following code: current state as UI quest item state dot set quest item label item dot item name. There's one thing worth mentioning in this line of code. We're typecasting the current state variable to the quest item state. Without doing so, we wouldn't be able to call the set quest item label method. After writing that line of code, we're finished. Let's head over to Unity. From the hierarchy, select the treasure chest object. We must add the quest item to the treasure chest component. I'm going to drag and drop the candy asset into this field. Next, let's try playing the game. If I were to open the chest, we've successfully displayed the item in the UI. In the next lecture, let's address an annoying issue with entering the UI.